little bit nasty. So they're like, look, man, viewerships are crashing. One guy broke it down to me on Reddit. He was like, look, bro, we're not saying the fans aren't loyal. The ticket sales are high, but during the coverage, if you look at the ratings, it's been going up and down, meaning that people were turning off their television. Even though it was a close game, 16 to 15 or whatever, people were not tuned in for one.
What if I told you the Cleveland Browns might actually want to lose? Sounds insane, right? But it's the only explanation that makes sense. Because after decades of failure, heartbreak, and a fan base more loyal than the product deserves, the Browns were finally handed something rare. A spark. A reason to believe. Shedeur Sanders. And instead of lighting the fuse, they stomped it out. Ticket sales are dropping. Fans are protesting. The stadium looks half empty on Sundays. And the one name that could turn heads, boost ratings, and bring national attention back to Cleveland, he's not just benched, he's buried. Not a snap, not a rep, not even scout teamwork, just standing on the sidelines, holding a clipboard like he's being punished for showing up. And if you're thinking maybe they're protecting a rookie, think again. This is deeper than football. This is politics, fear, ego, and the kind of decision-making that turns once proud franchises into punchlines.
We have good process, okay? And if you'd have told me, let's see, we picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night driving home, y'all are going to pick Shedeur, I would say that's not happening. But we had a conversation early that morning, and then we had a conversation later that day. I think we had the right people involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur. Just like who's going to start or what play we're going to call is Kevin's call, but that's Andrew's call.
Because the Browns aren't just screwing up a quarterback, they might be fumbling the one shot at change fans have begged for. And the way this story unfolds, it's starting to look less like mismanagement and more like sabotage. Let's be real. Cleveland fans are some of the most loyal in the league. They've cheered through losing seasons, weird draft picks, and enough quarterback changes to fill a novel. But lately, that loyalty is hanging by a thread. Look around the stadium. It's impossible to ignore. Rows of empty seats, a sea of disappointed faces, and the energy practically dead. Local reporters have started whispering that ticket sales are slipping, ratings are all over the place, and fan engagement is collapsing. Even when the games are close, people are turning off their TVs. And the craziest part? It's not about wins or losses anymore. It's about hope, or the complete lack of it.
So you mean to tell me the Cleveland Browns listed Shedeur Sanders as inactive today? Inactive? Yo, look, man. At this point, hey, I'm a fan of Shedeur, I'm a fan of Dion, but we just need to stop caring. Because the more people actually trying to tune in to watch Shedeur, the more they ain't going to play him, and the more they using him for clout and clickbait. They don't want the guy. The owner don't want him. The coach don't want him. The general manager don't want him. They don't want him on the team. Obviously, the NFL do not want Shiloh or Shedeur in the league, but Shedeur is good for money and ratings, or he wouldn't even be there.
Because no matter how bad things get, fans aren't asking for miracles. They're asking for change, something different, a reason to believe this season isn't just another rerun of the same disappointment they've been fed for decades. And Shedeur Sanders, he was supposed to be that reason. The hype was real. Fans bought the jerseys. They followed every move on social media. They flooded message boards and Reddit threads, begging the team to give him a chance, even just a few plays. But instead of excitement, they got silence. And now, that silence is turning into noise. People aren't just disappointed, they're angry. They feel ignored, betrayed, and worse, they feel manipulated. Like the team is holding on to Shedeur for clout, merch, and media buzz, but never actually planning to play him. And if that's true, then the Browns haven't just lost games. They've lost the trust of the very people who kept this franchise alive.
I also can't blame anybody who says, I don't necessarily trust this coaching staff to develop a quarterback or to evaluate the quarterback position. They've made some really oddball decisions at this position over the last several years, and I don't blame anybody for questioning, do these guys actually know what they're doing?
I don't think that's unfair at all. The thing I would say is that they're desperate. They're very desperate. Like the entire organization is desperate. And if you really think they're going back to the coaches' offices and all getting around the table after sessions and being like, guys, Shedeur is unbelievable. But
This isn't a team in a slump. This is a fan revolt in slow motion. When the Browns picked Shedeur Sanders, it felt like a shift in the universe. Finally, a quarterback with swagger, vision, and actual star power. Not just another maybe he'll develop name on a long list of failed experiments. Shedeur wasn't just a draft pick. He was a movement. Coming off a breakout college career and carrying a last name with more cultural weight than most NFL rosters combined. Shedeur had everything this franchise has begged for. Talent, undeniable. Marketability, off the charts. Social media numbers, already dwarfing most starters in the league. People didn't just want to see him play. They expected it. Day one. And that's the storyline Cleveland could have run with. The hometown underdogs bringing in a flashy modern QB to rewrite their legacy. Highlight reels, national buzz, primetime coverage, it was all lined up. For once, the Browns had a chance to be on the right side of history.
Give him a chance. Let's give him a chance with the play calling. You know you have an offensive line that isn't playing that well. So what do? Why not just play the short game so he can get the ball out of his hands very fast to run a competent goddamn offense? Outside of that, Shedeur has to be better in understanding that the offensive line that you're working with right now is not adequate. Why not allow the players that are competing for a job, in this instance, Shedeur Sanders, to finish off the 2-minute drill? Who makes that call? He makes that call. Why? Because I want the last thing people to see is the mistakes in the sack.
Instead, they ghosted him, like he never got drafted. No reps, no snaps, not even whispers of game day appearances. It's like they hit the mute button on their own golden ticket. Meanwhile, other teams are leaning into their rookies, taking chances, letting them grow in real time. But in Cleveland, the playbook goes straight from potential to clipboard duty. Fans waited decades for a quarterback with a future, and the Browns locked him in the basement. It's not that Shedeur was supposed to save the team overnight. It's that he represented a fresh start, a new era. And right now, it's looking like the front office never wanted that era to begin. And that leaves just one question. Why bring him in if you were never going to let him play? He's not third string. He's not even scout team. Shedeur Sanders has officially become a ghost in his own locker room.
Yeah, you should have signed a new contract. You should have got out. Y'all won't win 5 games this year unless you put Shedeur Sanders in, and nobody's coming to the games. It was half full. That means it was half empty. No Shedeur, we ain't watching. Jimmy Haslam, I love it. You're furious. You're mad. You're pissed off. You're ticked off. There's nothing you can do because the people have spoken. Unless you put Shedeur Sanders in that game so he can win something for you, you won't get anybody coming to your games. Why? Because we don't like you, and we want to see Shedeur Sanders only.
Reports out of camp are sounding more like a script from a bad sports documentary. No 11-on-11s. No red zone drills. Not a whisper of preseason involvement. And what's worse, he's not injured. He's just there, watching, holding a clipboard, running nothing, learning nothing, developing nowhere. Like the Browns aren't trying to build a quarterback, they're trying to erase one. People can't wrap their heads around it. Why invest in a flashy, high-upside rookie, only to keep him locked in the glass case labeled break in case of emergency? Even other rookies, some taken later in the draft, are at least getting snaps against the second team, but not Shedeur. And fans are calling it for what it looks like. A slow-motion shutdown. Some say it's business as usual for a cautious coaching staff. Others aren't buying it. They see deliberate suppression. Bury the kid, so his hype dies out.
I really don't care about this game because they didn't have Shedeur out there. So realistically, I'm not watching the Browns until they put Shedeur in the game. I just looked at the stats, honestly. But when it comes to the Browns, if Shedeur is not playing, I'm not watching the Browns, and I'm gonna start the petition for real.
I was just about to say that. Are we protesting?
Yeah, I'm protesting.
I'm not mad.
Strip away his rhythm, kill the momentum, and make sure he never poses a real threat to the current quarterback carousel. This isn't just neglect. It feels calculated. And even casual fans are starting to notice. Because if a player isn't being prepared to play, what is he even doing on the roster? Gatorade guy? Locker room intern? It's not just weird. It's embarrassing. And if the plan was to cool off the Shedeur buzz until it faded away, bad news for Cleveland. Every silent week only raises the volume. You can bench a player. You can bury his reps, but you can't silence millions of angry fans. And now they're all asking the same thing. What are the Browns so afraid of? Let's get one thing straight. This isn't about talent. It never was. What's keeping Shedeur Sanders off the field isn't football. It's politics, plain and simple.
Yo, look, I'm sick and tired of seeing how the Cleveland Browns and the NFL is treating Shedeur Sanders. This right here got me hotter than fish grease. This got me hotter than Texas on an August noon when it's 111 degrees. This right here is bull dookie. I'm trying not to curse. I'm trying to stay kid friendly. But this is crazy. Bro not even running practice squad. They say he not even practicing. He just there. Not even practice. We talking about practice.
You've got Kevin Stefanski, a coach so obsessed with his system that he'd rather lose predictably than win off script. He's built an identity around control, routine, and sticking to a playbook tighter than a drum. Shedeur? He's the opposite. Dynamic, creative, unscripted, and that makes Stefanski nervous. Then there's Jimmy Haslam, an owner who runs the franchise like a corporate brand, not a football team. He's less worried about wins and more worried about optics, sponsorships, PR statements, headlines. The man treats the quarterback room like a boardroom, safe, calculated, and painfully boring. Shedeur is young, black, bold, and loud on social media. Everything Haslam doesn't want to explain in a shareholders meeting. So what are they doing? They're shelving him, hiding him. Not because he isn't ready, but because they're not ready. Not ready for the media wave, not ready for the spotlight, and definitely not ready to let someone else own the moment. This isn't about development, it's about control. And it's why Shedeur gets ignored, while journeymen like Bailey Zappi and Dylan Gabriel get chances to shine. It's easier to protect the machine than to introduce risk. But in football and life, no risk, no reward. And Cleveland has been allergic to risk for years. But here's what they don't get. When you refuse to bet on your own talent, someone else will. And when that happens, it won't just be Shedeur walking away from this franchise. It'll be the fans too. There's a reason they call it the quarterback graveyard. In Cleveland, promising young quarterbacks don't develop. They disappear. They start with excitement and end with excuses. Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Kaiser, Colt McCoy, Brandon Weeden. The list is longer than some teams' playoff histories. Each one brought their own kind of hope. Each one left with their careers in pieces. And now, Shedeur Sanders is standing at the edge of that same cliff. There's this pattern in Cleveland. Draft the flash, hype the future, then panic at the first sign of rebellion. The Browns never build around their QBs. They squeeze them into whatever system the coach is obsessed with at the time and expect magic. And when it doesn't work out, blame the player, move on, repeat. It's why fans were hesitant, even when Shedeur got drafted. Not because he's not good, but because they've seen this movie before. The Browns don't just reject change. They fear it. They'd rather create a watered-down, system-friendly backup than invest in real development, especially if that development might challenge the status quo. Meanwhile, other franchises are turning rookies into stars. Houston let C.J. Stroud cook. Jacksonville gave Trevor Lawrence the keys. But in Cleveland, they're locking the door with Shedeur still inside. And the worst part? This failure isn't new. It's expected. Browns fans don't just brace for disappointment, they predict it. They've been lied to, overhyped, let down, and ghosted by ownership so many times, you'd think it was a toxic relationship. So when Shedeur got drafted, hope flickered again. But now, as he sits silenced and ignored, it's starting to feel like deja vu. Another name, another jersey, another future wasted before it even began. You can only gaslight a fan base for so long before they snap. And Cleveland, they've officially snapped. At first, the people have turned, not just against the decision, but against the franchise. It's bigger than Shedeur not playing. It's the feeling of being played. Fans are realizing the Browns are milking the Shedeur Sanders name for clicks, merchandise, and media buzz, all while keeping him tucked away like a product in the back of a warehouse. And that realization, it stings. Hard. Some accuse the team of using Shedeur for attention without intention. Others believe there's a deeper, maybe even shady motive behind the scenes, that ownership never wanted him to succeed in the first place. Whether that's true or not doesn't even matter anymore, because perception is reality. And right now, fans feel lied to. Petitions are circulating. Boycotts are being talked about. Hashtags are trending. And for a city that's lived through decades of losing, heartbreak, and bad calls, this might be the final straw. They didn't ask for a championship. They just asked for something different. And instead, they got the exact same circus with a new face in the background. What's worse than being disappointed? Feeling ignored. And that's exactly where the Browns fans are now, done with the excuses and ready for war. On the surface, the Browns locker room looks stable, professional, quiet. But behind that silence, a storm's brewing. And Shedeur Sanders is right at the center of it. Veterans want security. They've been in the league long enough to know how fragile careers can be. The last thing they want is a flashy rookie shaking things up and risking their spot in the pecking order. To them, Shedeur represents chaos. And coaches playing it safe? That's just part of the plan. But the younger guys, they feel it too. They see the buzz around Shedeur, the excitement, the online energy, the national media asking what the Browns are doing. And deep down, they're wondering the same thing. Why are we ignoring our most dynamic player? They won't say it out loud. Not yet. Teams don't survive open divides. But it's there. You can feel it in subtle shift of the eyes, in tired answers at the podium, in players posting cryptic messages on Instagram stories. There's tension, a quiet divide, and that kind of split, it doesn't stay quiet for long. Some are waiting for Shedeur to get his shot. Others are praying he doesn't. And the coaching staff, they're treating the whole thing like it's not real. Like awkward silence doesn't mean something's broken. It's easier to pretend nothing's wrong than to face the fact that the QB room is a ticking time bomb. Because whether he plays or not, Shedeur's mere presence is challenging the structure. Every rep he doesn't get is a reminder that fear is still running a franchise. And in that locker room, the only thing more dangerous than a quarterback controversy is dead air. Every week that Shedeur Sanders doesn't play, his legend grows. He hasn't thrown a single pass in an NFL game, and yet he's already being talked about like the missing piece, the savior, the one who got away. And that's the dangerous part, because the longer the Browns keep him sidelined, the more powerful the idea of Shedeur becomes. Now he's no longer just a player, he's a symbol. And in Cleveland, where pain lives rent-free, symbols matter more than stats. Let's face it, the expectations around him are rising to impossible levels. At this point, if Shedeur does get in the game, fans won't just want him to succeed, they'll want him to resurrect the entire franchise. Turn Cleveland from the punchline of the NFL to a Super Bowl threat overnight. And if he doesn't, the blame isn't landing on him. It's landing on the men who buried him for half a season while the team spiraled. Jimmy Haslam and Kevin Stefanski aren't just delaying a rookie's debut. They're writing the NFL's most frustrating what-if scenario live, in real time. What if they never gave him a real shot? What if this was the guy all along and they were too afraid to find out? What if all the pain, the protests, the losses could have been avoided? The Browns had a choice: give the fans something new or recycle the same failure. They chose the latter, and now it's too late to control the narrative, because the narrative is writing itself, and it might just become the biggest missed opportunity in modern NFL history. The Cleveland Browns aren't just sitting a quarterback. They're silencing a chance at evolution. This isn't about Shedeur Sanders running the perfect offense or marching the team to a Super Bowl his rookie year. This is about belief, about change, about the one moment where a franchise best known for wasting talent had a real shot not to make the same mistake twice, and still did it anyway. Every excuse they've thrown at the media, fans are done with it. Every week that passes, every press conference filled with vague coach speak and nervous smiles is another slap in the face to a fan base that has been more patient than it ever should have needed to be. Because Shedeur isn't just another prospect. He's momentum. He's buzz. He's the first time in a long time that Cleveland fans saw the future and didn't immediately cringe. And the Browns? They're pulling the plug before he even gets a light turned on. Look at the big picture. This isn't just bad management. It's fear disguised as strategy. It's ego dressed up as leadership. And it's killing whatever soul this franchise still had left. Fans didn't ask for 13 wins. They asked for something worth watching. They asked for a risk, the right kind of risk. Now, they're not even asking anymore. They're demanding. Because one way or another, this ends soon. Either the Browns swallow their pride and unleash the player fans have been begging to see, or they keep hiding behind excuses while the fan base slips through their fingers. Redemption is still possible, but every snap Shedeur doesn't take, it's one more step toward ruin. And if Shedeur Sanders walks away before ever getting his shot, Cleveland won't just lose a quarterback. They'll lose their last chance at hope.